You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Well, this is Dickie from Muff, Richard Wollstonecroft from the Melbourne Underground Film Festival. What did I say?
Underground, that's right.
Yeah, Underground Film
that's
Festival.
It. Very
that's
good.
Dickie, I call you.
Yep, Dick from Muff.
And we get him in every other week because I don't like to browbeat Wayne with all this stuff.
Too much.
The Duck, because he's into football and a few other things.
He's a smart fellow. He's still quite intuitive, isn't he?
He is, absolutely. But, Dick.
Yes.
I know we spoke briefly about Charlie Kirk with the Duck, who just brought it up. I didn't even bring it up, and I said,
so you're converting him to this.
Well, no, he said he said. You're not sure that he agreed with a hell of a lot of things that he said, but for a man who is only on about God, family and country to espouse those particular topics at the universities, the place where he'd probably get belted, but gives people a microphone to come up and have an opinion, and reasoned with them and gave him his opinion, it suddenly became okay now to shoot and kill dead on the spot anyone who you disagreed with. This seems to be carte blanche in America. It's happening more and more. 2 shots at Trump, and now
we nearly lost Trump this way. Think about that. You know, we came this close to Trump ending up the same way.
And people would rejoice in the streets if he died.
They would
and people have rejoiced in the streets because Charlie Kirk died, which brings us to where it's all headed. So is it all right if you disagree with someone? Is it all right? Is it becoming part and parcel now? Well, I don't agree with you. So I'll just kill you.
Yep.
And that's what happens in actually third world countries. And people say, well, it's the left and it's the radical leftists and the socialists doing it. Mm-hmm. But you'll notice, Dick, as you pointed out, that when George Floyd was actually not murdered by the copper, he died of a drug overdose.
Fentanyl.
Of course, fentanyl. They burnt
cities to the ground.
For 2 years, did billions of dollars worth of damage because they thought one of their own, a piece of poop was.
Piece of garbage.
George Floyd, but probably... if he had died at the hands of the copper, didn't deserve it, but he didn't. He died of a fentanyl overdose. Mm-hmm. But when Charlie Kirk
How did we come together? We prayed.
People didn't riot, didn't burn anything down.
They went to church, mate.
So whether you are a believer or not,
But that speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Well, it does. So...
I mean, that really says the two sides of this argument. You know, one group of people is happy to burn cities to the ground, kill and injure many people, cause unlimited property damage over essentially a drug addict who most likely died of a fentanyl overdose, versus somebody who was a family man, even if you disagreed with him. I mean, the interesting thing about Charlie Kirk is that he really was somebody who was really interested in debating left-wing people. He would go to campuses that are mostly left-wing, and he would sit across them like I am with you today, and he would debate them. And, you know, he was actually known for being, you know, quite dignified in how he did it. He would always let people speak. And sometimes, you know, occasionally a left-wing person might even get a point on Charlie, and he'd admit it or whatever. He was known for the kind of dignified way, and he was definitely within the market camp. He was a more moderate. He was definitely one of the more moderate, easygoing, nice guys within the MAGA movement, and he is the guy they chose to assassinate.
So I don't know if it's too relevant about him and speaking about what's going on in this country. Well, it's probably not, because nothing's happened like that here yet.
But we have the same politics, same political divide.
So the climate of what's going on in this country is taking a turn for you might say the better, some other one, but it's definitely changing the face of Australian politics, what's going on, because you will notice that Australians are turning away from the lies and the weakness of its leaders. 100%. And I reference this by saying, who said this? This is what Australia stand for: stopping net zero, bringing back cheap, reliable energy, stopping, putting an end to mass migration, and defeating left-wing extremism. Who is saying that? I'll tell you who's saying that.
Hanson?
Pauline Hanson's One Nation. And her stocks in that party have risen by 15%. So much so they're now more popular than the Greens. So does it tell you that little Pauline Hanson, who I've interviewed on this very podcast, probably just as articulate as Anthony Albanese.
Way more articulate than Anthony.
Isn't it amazing that she seems to be the spearheading the revival of this country's stocks? And I notice, there's so many things. So this is the danger we're facing. This was attributed to Donald Trump on a very credible Truth Social. It's got his tick on it. It's got his name on it, and and this is what he said about this country. He said, "Yesterday, an annoying little weasel of a man interrupted my round of golf. He told me he was the Australian Prime Minister and then started rambling on about living in a housing commission. So I hung up on him. He later called back and asked if he can visit me in the Oval Office. He's not a smart man. In fact, he sounded retarded with that lisp. I will rip him and Ambassador Rudd a new arsehole for being the most divisive and incompetent administration since Gough Whitlam. How can I do business or make a deal with someone who has never had a job? I will only do business with Australia once they restore free speech, protect Australian flag and jail Dan Andrews for treason." Now that is on, you read that, I read that and I thought, that looks so credible.
It's not a real one, though. It's not a real
It's got at Donald Trump. So I said to Sue, how can you tell if that's fake or not? And she said there's several indications on there, if you know what you're doing, which I don't, that is not real. But I read it and I thought,
fake news,
don't
Sam.
tell me that because he's lost me, Donald Trump, if he said that. He didn't say it, but... if you're just as gullible as me, that's where we're headed. People can say you've said anything, you've made stuff up, you're talking about stuff. So,
have you heard about true fake news? That's what that is. That's something where it's somebody who's taken and created a false meme or an artificial meme or maybe AI meme, but it sort of still tells the truth. That's pretty much what Trump would probably think. You know what I mean? Did you see the way the ABC journalist attacked Trump on the lawn of the White House?
That was, and he said, your
business interests.
You are hurting Australia by the ABC, who are a disgrace. They are just a left-wing rabble, the ABC.
They were taken over by the left-wing years ago.
I was going to say something about them. Oh, so
here we go.
Here's my. So Pauline Hanson, stocks are rising. People will gravitate to One Nation because they've had a gutful of what you just said. The net zero. What is that nonsense about? Yeah. There's an $8 billion wind farm has been put on hold in Gippsland because they're useless. They say they're still doing monitoring about whether it's feasible or not, but it's stopped because it's become nonsensical. And I'll tell you who should stump up and become the leader of the Liberal Party in Australia, and that's Jacinta Price.
She'd be great, wouldn't it? We could have our first Aboriginal Prime Minister.
Woman,
good.
Aboriginal,
I back it 100%.
Sane, sensible,
smart,
not hysterical,
not woke,
beholden to anyone, not woke.
That's the mistake the Liberals have made, mate. Don't you think?
They may as well have a crack at it because they've got
Susan Lay is going for the floor.
But the person before her
Dutton
just is compromised with trying to please everyone. You cannot please everyone, so you may as well stand up for your principles. And what a story that would be. First Indigenous Prime Minister who's a woman.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't tick any more boxes, and it wouldn't be a DEI.
No, it wouldn't
be a DEI.
It'd be done on merit.
On your merits. And fancy us saying that we'd back that. And,
there you go.
We would.
We would,
well, I would anyhow.
And I think Pauline Hanson's stocks are rising, similar to the way Nigel Farage's third-party, reform has been doing very well. Essentially, he's replaced the Tories, who, of course, again went woke. I think their last Prime Minister was I can't even remember his name. Ruki Shani. Oh God, it's like some kind of dish from the Prime Minister, Ruvi Shanik. Was that the guy's name? He was the Indian Prime Minister of England. He only lasted about a year. I can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah.
He came and went.
Indian, was he?
It was like an Indian dish. I can't remember. Ruvi Shanik or something. Anyway, maybe Sue can tell us this. And it's just, I think reform, the Reform Party in the UK did tremendously well in the recent, local elections. And obviously there was that recent protest. It seems like 1 million people took to the streets in the United Kingdom to try and take the United Kingdom back. Obviously we've got
immigration. So they're trying to take the countries back that were traditionally who inhabited them, and they're not putting up with people just flooding across the borders, illegal immigrants just gravitating, have no values, don't try and assimilate, and it's what is happening here. And people have had a gutful because they're paying attention now about the increased energy costs, increased price of fuel, and they say this is all predicated on the net zero bullshit, the wind farms, the solar panels.
Did you listen to that Chris Bowen thing?
Yes, I did. And
nonsense, wasn't it?
And
it was just pure hysteria. And there's going to be people dying. We're going to be burning in the streets. The weather in 2035 will be just like it is now, freezing in Melbourne. I'll tell you that much. I'll lay $1 million on that.
People are being radicalised, propagandised, brainwashed. This state here is become I was up in Brisbane last week, and people, I hate to say it, talking about the state that I've live in and done well in, or reasonably well in, they said it's a shithole, and it's pretty hard to disagree with them when you consider we've become the protest capital almost of the world.
Every weekend, mate.
We hung our hat. The Andrews government hung its hat on driving us into the dungeon in COVID. We became world famous for being the most locked down city for ridiculous reasons in the world, and now we have become. Last week, while I was in Brisbane, I was watching on the news. These were the protests that happened over the weekend. Palestine,
always
the neo-Nazis. The LGBTQ people had the flags up, were marching. The trans people, the unions, the Aboriginals, and anti-Semites. There was 6 different groups protesting in the streets, locking down the streets. Where is the government? Where is law and order? Where are the police? You get home invaded now. You get home invaded and you have your car hijacked and you ring the police and they say, we've got no one to send out to you. We have no one's, everyone's resigning from the force because the government has this no bail. They have, as soon as you arrest people, they're back out on the streets. So it's... And while this government, this state government, the Allen government, are so keen on reparations and land treaties and
what do you think of that treaty, Sam?
Land treaties and the fact that she's now, her government is now for transgender realigning of surgery for poo.
Which is mental illness. Let's be honest.
This is a priority over. The fact that the capital works have ground to a halt, the suburban rail loop is ground to a halt. There's no police, there's no security. It is the machete bins are just a joke. And let me tell you, let me show you what someone. I want to show you what someone's.
It seems like every second day there's a machete attack or there's a home invasion. And it's just unbelievable what's going on in this state. I think people are sick of it. And this whole thing with the treaty, how can you make a treaty when you make a treaty with other nations? What nation exactly are we making a treaty with? There are different Aboriginal tribes, but they never formed a nation.
So we did a plebiscite, the yes-no, and that
was the mood
resoundingly defeated. But the government, the Allen government, has no interest in actually complying with the wishes.
So why are they doing it, you think, Sam?
So they want a treaty, and someone says, why do we have to have another voice when? Now, I'm reading this out.
Yep.
when we have 3,278 Aboriginal corporations, 243 native title bodies, 48 land councils, 35 regional councils, 122 plus Aboriginal agencies, 3 advisory bodies, 145 health organisations, 11 Indigenous federal MPs, 12 culturally important Indigenous days. Taxpayers gives $33 billion annually to 3% of the population, the Aboriginal population. This is not a racism. This is just the nonsense of the Victorian government thinking they have to, on top of what I'm reading out, I've only got halfway through it, I won't read any more out, on top of what I'm reading out, why does the state government think they've got to add to everything that's going on? We don't need a voice. We've got one. There are more representation and more people trying to look after Indigenous Australia. The government is it is virtue signalling by genuinely people with low IQ. And
it's all about impoverishing. It's all about impoverishing not only Victorians but Australians in general. That's the agenda. They want to impoverish us, so we're living like
and
a kind of
feudal. And the Premier is now on a junket over to China to try and say, we are your fan. She's grovelling, bending the knee in the fetal position. Why Dan Andrews is over there shaking.
Why is Victorian Premier, what are they doing touring China?
It is... Well, they're trying to probably get him to bail him out. We're in debt for $200 billion. We might as well try and get some more debt so we can actually finish. How long is the tunnel and that thing going on for? I've been away like 6 months last year and 3 months this year. There's not one thing that's advanced on any of those things.
Exactly the same.
It's ground to a halt because the unions have got them by the throat.
Yeah, and they turn a job that should take 2 or 3 years and they turn it into 10 years.
Yeah, because if there's no other public works coming on, they're going to string out the one that is going on.
Of course, and they get kickbacks, and it's just all corrupt, and it's just all making us all broke in Victoria.
So I want to read. I'm going to read something else out, Dickie. Unless you can.
No, go ahead. But I've got some notes here. I mean, this woman Ariana Zarutska, who was kind of stabbed in the neck in America. People are linking, kind of Charlie Kirk, death, and this woman's death. People are saying that, Ariana Zarutska, that's like your wife, it's like your daughter, that's like your sister. And Charlie Kirk is somebody who is pro-free speech, and this is how, society is going, that you are just being attacked. You're being murdered for free speech, and then your sister, your daughter, or your mother is being stabbed to death by these people who come here from foreign countries illegally. That guy was let out on, bail when he should have been locked up, and some African-American judge let him out to do it again and murder this poor Ukrainian woman who was not over here, making money. She was like working a 9-to-5 job at somewhere like a Burger King, just trying to live and try and stay out of trouble from that's going on in Ukraine. And just some complete psychopath just stabs her in the neck for no reason.
So everyone is saying it's got out of hand, but the people who are getting it out of hand are the radical people who are just... So this is a bloke called Jerry M on X or whatever.
Yeah, what did he say?
He said this is the best thing he's ever heard about Trump.
Yep.
Mind you, and it's written by a guy called Oliver Kornetsky.
Yep.
And this could be about any leader. It could be about Gough Whitlam. It could have been about Dan Andrews. Could be about... it's just a whole collection of words. If you don't think this incites people, and I think this is fantastic, because listen to this.
All right, mate.
This is what he says about Trump.
What do you say?
A festering carcass of American rot shoved into an ill-fitting suit, the sleaze of a conman, the cowardice of a draft dodger, the gluttony of a parasite, the racism of a Klansman, the sexism of a back alley creep, the ignorance of a barstool drunk, and the greed of a hedge fund ghoul, all spray-painted orange and paraded like a prize hog at a county fair. Not a president, not even a man, just a diseased distillation of everything this country swears it isn't, but has always been. Arrogance dressed up as exceptionalism, stupidity passed off as common sense, cruelty sold as toughness, greed exalted as ambition, and corruption worshipped like a gospel. It is America's shadow made flesh, a rotting pumpkin idol, proving that when a nation kneels before money, power and spite, it just doesn't lose its soul. It shits out the bloated obscenity that it calls a leader. That is fantastic. For someone to sit down and write that about someone, but you could...
But apart from that, he thought he was an okay guy, Sam?
But I've got a feeling secretly he admires Trump because you could write that about anyone, and you could have written that about Dan Andrews. You could have written about that Jacinta Allen.
It's projection, isn't it? It's projection. What they're doing is Biden.
As long as you stop, if you stop people writing that stuff, the world, you're buggered.
Yep.
You should have a right to say that.
Of course.
But of course, you can
they're
say,
wrong.
Well, they're wrong because. Like the Allen government, like the Andrews government, like the Australian government, Anthony Albanese's, these people get elected, and it's not their fault. We, the electorate, keep electing them.
Yep.
The stupidity of what that man wrote about Trump is that it's just given him a hard-on while he was writing it because he's not a Trump supporter.
No.
But he got overwhelmingly elected, Trump. Overwhelmingly elected to run the country. So not enough people agree what that man says. But you can make up all those things. I could say, and I know this off by heart but I could say that a bloke called William Macaulay said this. He said, you could say it about the man that wrote that, with pig's eyes that never look up, a pig's snout that knows only muck, a pig's brain that only knows the sty, and a pig's squeal that only cries when it's hurt. He sometimes opens his pig's mouth, turked and ugly, and lets out the voice of God railing at the whitewash that covers the manure about his habitat. That is, he shits on his own country because he has bile and he has a preoccupation for not liking the country he lives in, let alone the people who run it. So we can say that about Allen, Andrews, Albanese. We can have an opinion unless someone wants to walk through the door and shoot you for having it, which seems to be almost accepted these days. But these people,
that's the one good thing about
get
Australia.
elected, and if you're going to whinge about those people running your life, you've got to vote them out of office. So stop.
Yeah,
and
there is a lot of pushback these days, don't you think, Sam? You know, I mean, obviously from people like us, but like this, I think it's become a mass movement. The amount of people that are pushing back against this stuff. The one thing you got to say about Australia is that we don't have that level of political violence that America has, which is a good thing. But, you know, Australia, though, are very stupid in many ways. We go along... The fact that people vote for this kind of ridiculous Labor climate change nonsense... I mean, even if climate change was real, which of course it isn't, but even if it was real, there's nothing Australia could do to change it anyway. So this idea that this ridiculous scare campaign that Christopher Bryan presented to people, that we're all going to be burning alive in like 15 years, it'll still be freezing in Melbourne like it is right now. But that's the facts.
That's the joke of Greta
Thunberg,
who said 15 years ago that within 10 years we wouldn't be here. Well, we've lasted. So
and the sea level has risen by that much, mate.
And then it gets on to the pandemic and the COVID thing, which was just a big pharma con.
100%.
And the lies and we
lap it up
for that. So
you got to push back, mate. You got to say no to this crap. You know, and more people have got to realise that. You know, if you're working class people traditionally voted Labor. Why are they voting for higher energy prices over a problem they could never fix, even if it was real? Which it isn't real, though. So it's like makes no sense.
These people running your lives, an attempt to destroy the national identity and the culture of the place you lived in. Yep. And as I say, these people keep getting voted in. It is.
I mean, Anthony Albanese's over in Papua New Guinea. He can't even get a treaty with the people in Papua New Guinea. Do you hear that? He recently got knocked back by even them. So how the hell is he going to get along with Donald Trump?
And he didn't the thing in with the. Didn't he lose the Chinese deal? Didn't that fall over when he went to Papua New Guinea?
China's obviously gotten into Papua New Guinea. They'll be the ones behind sabotaging this.
Vanuatu. He went to Vanuatu, and it was a $500 million deal.
That's right.
That was compromised by China that he tried to do with Vanuatu because they're in the pocket of. The Chinese,
And I thought China was the friends of Anthony Albanese because he spent a week over there touring the Great Wall of China and having a great time. You know, he probably just saw Jacinta Ardern on the way out, mate. You know, I don't know what all our Labor leaders are doing over in China. You'd think one would be over in America talking to our number one ally, Mr. Trump.
So there was a man called Bob Villain, not Bob.
That's a good
Dylan.
name.
He was. We saw him. He was at a concert.
He's a villain?
He was a black man with his shirt off, singing, and he sang. He was absolutely delighted that Kirk had been shot and killed, and sang a song about it, and said he was a piece of shit and all that sort of stuff. I'm just wondering if someone who was in the audience, just hypothetically, didn't agree with him. You wouldn't worry if someone shot him. You wouldn't worry if someone shot I wouldn't worry if someone shot that thing that wrote that thing about Trump.
No.
If that doesn't incite people, but we don't wish people to die, but we don't care if they do. That's different from in the States.
It is a different sentiment.
Want people to die.
Well, yes, you know, there's many radicals on the far left that have, you know, I don't know why transgender people are suddenly murdering people with shotguns. I mean, they're not a community known for its. It seems like they're just riling people up to the point of hysterical, you know, riling up mentally ill people, and surprise, surprise, they start hurting others.
So here's another list, Dickie. This was what they said Trump sort of campaigned on. Yep. But this is absolutely parallel to what's going on in the state in Victoria here. Yep. And this was written about America, but this could be absolutely written about Victoria. Open borders. This is what's wrong. Open borders, that's immigration. Yep. Rampant crime, mass drug addiction, election interference. You talk about the Andrews government. Yep. Indoctrination of children, for education being radicalised in the state school system, weaponisation of the justice system, the Andrews government did that, destruction of private property rights, inflation, unacceptable government bureaucracies, vaccine misinformation, the trans scandal, and DEI, which has become the new racism. That is exactly what's wrong with this state, and that's what got Trump elected, because he pushed back on all those things.
Exactly, and it's a similar platform that Pauline Hanson has. That's pretty much is her platform.
Pauline Hanson.
What a legend.
What a joke. Not a joke. What a breath of fresh air that woman might be leading a revival.
She might be Prime Minister one day.
People have just had enough of it. So, Dickie, that's our take on politics.
Could I give one little shout out to somebody? There's sadly, I lost a friend of mine, a woman by the name of Amanda Trotter. She used to date a friend of mine, Frank Peppard. She was Amanda Peppard for a long time, and she passed away recently, and it was a very sad loss. She was a wonderful woman who was involved in all kinds of great activities and helping the community, and I'd just like to give a shout out because she was a wonderful person.
Very good. I'm glad you did.
Thanks, mate.
Finally, Dickie, this is the Australian Citizenship Pledge. This is not made up. This is what, if you become an immigrant and you become nationalised or nationalised, yes.
Yeah.
This is what you're meant to vow that you do. And I wonder, the people who don't, wonder if we could withdraw their citizenship and send them home. So this is what you're meant to adhere to.
What do they say?
From this time forward, under God, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey.
Correct.
Now, that's what immigrants who get nationalised
have got to swear to, and if they don't...
and if you have a look at what's going on with all the groups that I mentioned who are marching and parading and ruining...
Couldn't we round them up and get rid of the ones who aren't behaving themselves?
That are deliberately trying to...
undermine our country,
attempting to destroy the national identity and culture of this country.
Yeah, and this great country.
If you think that's just an accident that's happening, that is by design, by people who are acting not in our best interests.
Nefarious interests, mate.
And stop whinging about it. Don't vote people in. You can't if you keep voting these people in.
They'll keep winning.
That's what Trump said last year. He said, if you're dissatisfied, he said, don't just whinge about it. Yeah. And what happened? They overwhelmingly elected him.
Got Mr.
Unfortunately, Victoria has no presence of opposition.
No.
Mr. Batten and Mr. Groth, they are non-existent. If you couldn't strike a blow in this present climate, we've left it to poor old Pauline Hanson to have a crack at it nationally. Him and her and Bob Catter.
Because they're too scared to speak out.
Immigration.
They're too scared to speak out against woke.
All things to all people. But Jesus, stump up and put your
money where your mouth is.
Well, don't sell your soul. I mean, just be confident that what you say most people agree with, but are too apathetic to come on board.
100%.
So there we are.
Or even come on this show.
Well, I've asked plenty of people to come on this show.
Sam Groth, right?
Because I interviewed a Nazi, that made me a Nazi. Wow.
That's ridiculous, mate. That's ridiculous. You've interviewed just every kind of person on this show, mate. You know, you're not responsible for the opinions of the guests on this show.
Might ask him. If the Nazi keeps on
causing trouble
again, I might get him on again and say, "What the fuck are you doing, mate?"
All right, bring him back on.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, that's it, Dickie. So
good on you,
thanks
mate.
for coming in. Thank you. All the best.
All the best.